So I decided to do my microculture presentation on homeschooling because I was homeschooled my whole life up until 10th grade of high school, and then I went to Bridgewater Raritan High School. So that is a microculture that I belong to, and when I do have children, I do plan on homeschooling them. So my first slide is just the basic definition of homeschooling. It is a process of educating at home, which is usually done by the mother, although I have seen many fathers play an evident role in the education of their child. I would say that it requires a lot of patience because you are with your child for the whole duration of the day as opposed to sending them out and having them come back in. It definitely requires organization as you're bringing a school environment into your home environment, which is not something that is typically in a dominant American home. And it definitely requires a willingness and structure to it. So I'm going to discuss the different aspects that create this unique microculture, and I'm going to begin with their values. So the first value, which is evident throughout the dominant culture in America, is education. I don't think that there is a difference in the value of education. It's just what each family finds to be the best option for their child. I do see religion playing a role in homeschooling, as a lot of people may want their students to have a Christian education or education that is linked to their belief system. The parent-child relationship is definitely dominant, as a lot of parents will give up going to work to stay home and train their child with their education. And the last value is a safe environment. A lot of parents choose to homeschool because their student may be bullied and they need to take them out of that place to provide a safe space. Many students also have medical or physical disabilities, which having them homeschooled allows you to cater to their needs exactly how they need it to be. It gives you a space where they have access to anything that they might need. The characteristics of a homeschooling family, and that is my family, just missing one brother. So there are definitely, you need a child to homeschool, or perhaps you could be hired as a private tutor to teach someone's child. There aren't always large families linked with homeschooling, but it's definitely something that you see throughout homeschooling families, as I'm one of 10. My best friend was homeschooled, she's one of 8, and I've also seen families with 5 children homeschooled, 6 children, and also 2 or 3 children. So as large families is definitely evident, is not the only function of a homeschooling family. I do believe parents that are homeschooling, their characteristics, they have to be available to meet their child's needs. They must be flexible if their child is sick or if something isn't working. They need to reevaluate the lesson plans or reevaluate how they're teaching their student. And the last characteristic I find to be most important with the parents is they need to be conscious of role switching between being a parent and being a teacher, because those are obviously 2 very different roles, and you need to be able to differentiate between the 2. Positive characteristics I found of homeschooling students amongst my siblings and friends that we have, there's definitely an independent work ethic. When I'm home and I was homeschooled, it was me doing my schoolwork, I was accountable for myself, and then once I went to public high school, there was more teachers staying on top of you for your work or classmates making sure, comparing answers. So I do find that being homeschooled gives you a more independent role in your academic structure. I found myself to be more focused, and I see this with a lot of other homeschoolers, because as you're home, you don't have the distractions of multiple teachers or multiple students trying to surround you or peer pressure you into anything. And the last positive characteristic of a homeschooled student is you tend to have closer relationships with your family members, including your parents and siblings. There are disadvantages to being a homeschooled student, and I know a lot of times when students move from homeschooling into a different setting of school, such as public school or Christian school, this is mostly where this happens. There's often a social awkwardness or social anxiety to be around other people just because you are used to being around just your siblings or your family. And I think one way to remove that is being involved in sports or theater or anything that you may be able to do as a homeschooled student. Another disadvantage is just your academic structure. You may be used to being taught in one way or in one fashion. So moving into a public school or another teacher or something would definitely be a challenge, as doing anything new is. The behaviors of communication is pretty informal. Like my siblings get to do school outside. It's informal because you're with your family. There's no stress or raising your hand or having to ask questions. You're with your parents or your siblings, so you can just be free to be who you are, which is a good thing. There's also a definite difference in scheduling and grading between homeschooling and a school system where it's more lenient, where you are not as forced. You don't have deadlines to get your grades in by. You don't have to get things approved of by other people. Like, it's you and your parent, and you're working directly together to create and go about a scheduling system that works for you as an individual relationship. You're also free to take breaks whenever you want. You aren't being dictated by the school system to take a break every 40 minutes or every 5 minutes for the period. The last behavior of communication is co-ops, which a lot of homeschoolers do. They'll get together with 20 to 30 families in their community or their surrounding areas and get together and teach each other's kids so that their kids still have a chance to get an academic feel. Next slide is about homeschooling around the United States and in our world. There are about 1.5 million children in the United States that are homeschooled out of the 55 million school-age students, which makes us a pretty small microculture. Famous people that have been homeschooled include Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling, Hayden Panettiere, and the Williams sisters. Most of the parents opted for them to be homeschooled because they want them to focus on their athletic development or their acting careers or their music, singing, whatever it is that they do. Other countries I found that homeschooling is pretty relevant in besides the United States is Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But there are also countries where homeschooling is illegal or they have strict regulations about them, and that includes Sweden, Germany, many of the other European countries, and Cuba. Some fun facts I found, or just interesting facts about homeschooling, is that there's a Homeschool Legal Defense Association that was founded in 1983 to help among the different state laws in the United States. Here are my siblings apple picking because they could just go apple picking because they decided to. I was never allowed to sleep in, but you definitely do get to stay in your pajamas or wear whatever you want and not have to worry about how you look, which is a great benefit. Homeschooling was prevalent throughout the United States, but it wasn't made legal in every state until 1989, which is fairly recent, being that it's only 2016. And then lastly, many Christian schools and even some public or private colleges have scholarships specifically for students who have been homeschooled. And there was even a college, the Patrick Henry College, which was designed specifically for homeschoolers. So in conclusion, I do believe that homeschoolers are a group with their own unique personas, values, characteristics, and patterns that set them apart from the dominant culture.